गणपते महामते गणपते महामते गौरी कुमार मापाहि गणपते महामते पंचमातंग मुख गणपति परिपालितोऽहं सुमुखेन श्री पञ्चमातङ्ग वारण मुखवातुनिवरुवाय अरुள்வாய் दयवाय वारण मुखवा गणपतिये கருணாநிதியே என்னை கடைகள் பார்த்தருளே ஸ்ரீயே மகாகணபதியே கருணமிதை சோகம்பீர கணபதி பாலி சோகம்பீர கணபதி மகா கணபதி மனசா ஸ்மராமி மகா கணபதி மனசா ஸ்மராமி வசிஷ்டவாமதேவாதி வந்தித गणपतिं भजमानस विघ्नेश्वरमनीशं भज पूर्वार्पण सदन गणेशं भजमानस विघ्नेश्वरम् अनीशं विघ्न विनायक Namaskaram to all of you. Today I have taken up the subject of Bhava Raga Tala for presentation. I'm extremely honored to have Chitraveena Narasimhan sir and Dr. Satyavati here, and I consider it as a true blessing for me. In this medley that I presented now, the first thought, of course, for all of you would have been that the commonness was the God, Vinayaka, being presented by so many composers in different talas, in different ragas, different kala pramanas, and the same subject itself revealed different connotations in terms of how that Sahitya Bhava, what the Sahitya tried to convey to us in that particular context. We look into another example to study the same subject from a different angle. Shobillo saptaswara shobillo saptaswara shobillo saptaswara nadalolude brahmananda maldave manasanadalolude brahmananda maldave manasanadalolude shambha mahadeva shankara girija ramana shambha mahadeva nipagadame gati காந்திமதி நீ பாரதமே கதினளின காந்திமதி நீ பகதமே கதி மனசாயடுலோன் தூனே மனசாயடுலோன் தூனே மனவினி சேகொள்ளவே ஓ மனசாயடுலோன் ஸ்ரீ குரு குகதாரய சுமாம் ಶರವಣ ಭವ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ಗುಗತಾರಯ ಶುಮಾ ஈசனைಯಿಂದ எழைகிறங்க இன்னும் தாமதம ஜெகதீசனைಯಿಂದ எழைகிறங்க இன்னும் தாமதமா சமானரகிதனான ஈசனை இந்த தாமதம மோகனகர முத்துகுமர ஸ்ரீகர கருண கரவர மருள் மோகனகர முத்துகுமர ஸ்ரீகர கருண கரவர மருள் மோகனகர முத்துகுமர If we look at the concept of Bhava, Raga and Tala, we see that every composer or musician tries to achieve a coalescence of the essential factors which I mentioned here of Raga, Bhava and the Tala. Bhava, of course, refers to the element of expression, and in the realm of compositions we see that they encompass the aspects of rasa, raga, laya, language, and also the individuality of the composer. That is very, very important. What is the intention of the composer in creating that particular composition? And of course, finally we see that this composition is manifest or is brought out to its best by the musician who performs it. And here we could say that as far as music is concerned, there is one element called the Artha Bhava and the other is the Raga Bhava, I would say. Artha Bhava, of course, refers to the language or the material, the total content of the particular composition. What the composer is trying to convey in terms of the lyrical content is what we mean by the Artha Bhava here. And Raga Bhava, I would say, is much more abstract in the sense that இப்போ ஒரு சாகித்யம் அப்படின்னா கணபதியே கருணாநிதியே கடைக்கண் பார்த்தருளே, suppose I'm saying that it conveys a direct kind of a meaning. But the raga is something much more abstract, I would say, and much more subjective. And that's why always I also strongly oppose to the idea of trying to attribute one particular emotion to a particular ragam. I feel that the lyrics also contributes much in terms of how the bhava of the raga is conveyed through the medium of the song. I will take a simple example here. Now, if we take the prose aspect or the sahitya, it may be very, very simple in its structure. But then when it is put into the mold of a raga, it attains a sheen, a beauty, which we cannot really describe. For example, I'll just take a few examples. Tamil first எடுத்துக்கலாம். ஏதையா கதி எனக்கு ஏதையா கதி, இவ்வளோதான் வார்த்தை. ஆனால் அதை வந்து ஒரு சலநாட்ட அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு ராகத்துக்குள்ளே போடுறது ஒரு பிரம்மாண்டமான ஒரு இமோஷனை நம்மளுக்கு வந்து அது கன்வே பண்ணுறதுங்கிறது தான் அந்த correlation between the sahityam and the ragam. Of course, the talam has a very important role in terms of putting together the ragam and the sahityam in a structured manner. We look into one line here. So the whole feeling of the composer that I have no other person as a refuge Edayya Gati, Enak Edayya Gati, that is trying to bring that emotion into that particular composition through this beautiful Raga Bhava. You see here. Edayya Gati, Enak Edayya Gati, Enak Edayya Gati, or a simple lyric, Muruga, Muruga, Endral. See how the thought process of the composer gives that pleading nature to the whole Sahitya itself. For example, Muruga, Muruga, Endral, Murugado, Undal Ullam, Muruga, Muruga, Endral, Murugado, Undal Ullam, Varuvai, Varuvai Endral, Varivode, Vagarayo, Muruga, Muruga Endral. Or where the composer Papanasam Shivan asks, Chittam Mirangadenayya, Sendil Velayya. See the bhava of the ragam, how it seamlessly actually blends with what the Sahityam conveys here. Chittam Irangadenayya, Sendil Velayya, Chittam Irangadenayya, Sendil Velayya, Chittam Let's move towards a bit towards Tyagarajar, who is also another master, I would say, in terms of where he was able to blend the Sahitya Bhava and the Raga Bhava so beautifully to give us the right kind of an emotion or rasa. Nikedaya Raga Nejupanu Lilla Nikedaya Raga Nejupanu Lilla where he says that, "Oh Rama, is it possible for me to accomplish any job without your grace?" உன்னோட கிரேஸ் இல்லாமல் முடியுமாங்கிற அந்த டோன் அதில் கன்வே ஆகுது. அதே மாதிரி இந்த உற்சவ சம்பிரதாயம் அப்படின்னு எடுத்துட்டோம்னா அதில் ரொம்ப பொருத்தமாக ஒரு காம்போசிஷனும் அவர் எப்படி அந்த தாட் ப்ராசஸ் இருந்ததுன்னு அதுக்குள்ளே நம்ம போய் பார்த்தா அதுவே ஒரு பெரிய பிரமிப்பாக இருக்கும் நம்மளுக்கு. வேர் ஹி ட்ரைஸ் டு புட் த லாட் டு ஸ்லீப். ஜோ 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 ராமா ஆனந்த கன ஜோ 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 ராமா ஆனந்த கன ஜோ ஜோ தசரத பாலா ராம ஜோ ஜோ பூஜாலோல ராம ஜோ 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 ராம. Here would also probably a step further if we go into the thought process. When we put somebody to sleep, we don't sing in the Tarasthai, obviously. So the mood, the range, everything is so complementing and so beautiful here if you look at the composition. The same Tyagarajar, when we see that in the other compositions, the bigger composition, you would probably explore all the sthais. Whereas when it comes to this particular theme, he ideally does that. Or for example, a Lali song, which he composes. Lali yogave ma pali daiva maya Lali yogave. For Tyagaraja, Rama came in front and he was able to visualize things. We are just small mortals. But nevertheless, we can just imagine that how Rama is swinging in the unjal and how his brother Lakshmana is sitting with him, Sita Amma folding the betel nut and the betel leaf and giving it to him. So, and the whole concept of how the thought process of the Sahitya goes is beautifully complemented through the music here. But again, as I said earlier also, I would not attribute any particular ragam with a particular emotion, in the sense that let's listen to two compositions of Tyagaraja himself and then probably we'll look into it for what I wanted to convey. Yeti janma midiha So you see that the same ragam Varali was used in different contexts, in the sense that in the first one, Yeti Janmamidiha, O Rama, where he's asking, what is this life all about? Why was I even born? So that kind of agony, the virakti also is conveyed by Varali. And in Kanakana Ruchira, he is here to describe the beauty of Lord Rama, his glory, all are portrayed in this particular composition. And we also heard a composition of Shyama Sastri and Dikshadhar. So where I again want to re-emphasize the fact that there is no particular emotion, we could say, that is associated with a particular raga. And it's the Sahitya rather which contributes towards what mood has to be portrayed in that particular composition. Coming to the role of raga, we always say that music is a language in itself, in the sense that a raga by itself can speak so much to us. It can communicate so much. It is a language by itself. For this, probably we could take the examples of Manodharma, where Raga Alapana, Kalpana Swaram. These do not contain any words as such, sensible, meaningful words are not there, but then we paint a picture of the ragam. The beauty of the ragam is painted as a language in itself which communicates so much to us. But again, I would say that these are all very abstract kind of pictures where the same ragam, a raga alapana, may make me feel happy, it may make you feel peaceful, somebody may feel agonized, somebody may feel a bit sad. I mean, many things, actually it's more a psychological process as to how you associate a particular rasa with a particular ragam. In this context, I was just reminded of one Facebook posting 2 days back when one person had written that he was sitting in a particular hall and continuously he was made to listen to Purvi Kalyani by one artist after the other. He said, wouldn't the artist stop performing Purvi Kalyani and start performing some other ragam? But he also made a point that Purvi Kalyani is my favorite ragam. So, and the sweet or excessa kudutha eppadi or tekata aramikkumo and the position da here, where even something when you love, when it is in excess, it becomes some kind of you start developing some kind of a bhibatsa rasa or some kind of a hatred towards that. So what I wanted to convey is again the fact that there are different ways in which we can even perceive it. If you take a particular, for example, Swarajati, or if you take a Swara Sahityam, where we see that the Swaram by itself can convey so much in terms of the musical meaning. Let's look at one small example. I'll take Jagadishwari, where you see that the Swara Sahityam is very beautiful, Thiruvaru Ramaswamy Pillai's composition, where the Daivata has been introduced with a purpose in two folds. One is where the Daivata, when approached from different points, give you different colors and shades. And then the same Daivata, when it comes in conjunction with the Sahityam, it attains an extra sheen and an extra kind of meaning to us. Let us look at this small example. I won't sing the composition, and I also would like to share that with the minimal time, I'm not going into the history or the theoretical aspects, because in spite of my having prepared a lot, time constrains me. So I'll just share a few thoughts here and there about what I want to convey here. I'm going directly into the Swara Sahityam. Da pa ga ri sa ri ga, da pa ga pa ri ga ri, da pa da ga pa ri ga pa da, da ri sa ga ri ga pa ga ri da, sa ri ga ri sa da, ri sa ri ga da, ga ri da ri ga da. Of course, as musicians, all of you would have understood what I'm conveying. That is one da. Da pa ga re sa re ga da pa ga pa re ga re da pa da ga pa re ga pa da da re sa ga re ga pa ga re da sa re ga re sa da re sa re ga da ga re da re ga da. So many ways in which the da has been approached. The same thing when put into the mold of the Sahityam, where you also see the Swaraksharam coming in. Dharanithanil adutharu kuda vishaya tayunnai vida verulada tamadam indri veda purida sanakarulindha yalbadarida perida jadada. So the da and the da coincided here. So it added a special meaning. The Sahitya itself got a special meaning through the musical element here. Sometimes we see that the Sahityam also is not there, like in the Swarajati, for example, if we take the Todi Swarajati of Shama Sastri, just the note, one particular note can convey so much in terms of its colors. For example, the ni sa re ga re ga ma ga re sa ni re, the ni sa re ga re ne ra. So a simple example where the Gandhara itself is able to give you so many dimensions, or in Bhairavi, ga ma ga re sa re ni sa re ga ma pa ga re ga ma pa da ma ga re sa ni ga re ga ma pa da ni ni da pa pa ma ga re sa ga. Or for example, if we take, and the style of expression again here is very, very important, where, for example, in the composition, Ananda Natamaduvar Thillai, though we have the words, when it is added with that beauty of the music, visualizing the Tandavam, it gives us a special kind of a rasa, like Tanandam illada roopal, Tanandam illada roopal, Tachau dagaju dagadini, Talagu dagadariginadom, Talagu dagadariginadom, Dagadimi dagadariginadom, Narayananda Natamaduvar Thillai. Oh, Balunganilladi Padi Bhava Kavajaya Vilayananda Natamaduvar As I mentioned earlier also, the Bhava quotient is very relative. Like for example, if you take the composition of Tyagarajar in Shubhapantarali we often associated with pathos. And this has been reiterated again and again, I would say, by the All India Radio and Doordarshan, where when somebody passes away, immediately you put a violin or some instrument on the Shubhapantarali Ragam, stands the Talam, and that gives the imagery of something which is sad. But inherently, I would say that there is nothing sad about the Ragam, in the sense that probably in the composition of Tyagaraja, you would see that where he says that, how long can you be unconcerned about me? How long can you be so indifferent towards me? So probably in that particular context, it gives you some kind of a suitable complementary idea of a pathos and Shubhapantarali going along with it, like Yennalu Rage Yundu Vajutta Moyavaru Adigevaru Leda Shri Rama Yennalu Rage. But imagine a grand, magnificent composition of Muthuswami Dikshidhar, which really gives me only a state of bliss. I can never even think of anything related to sadness when we listen to the song. Shri Sagatya Narayanam Upasmahe Nityo Satya Jnananandamaya Sarva Vishnu Mayam. So here it is all about the grandeur, Satya Jnananandamayam, Sarvam Vishnu Mayam. So I don't think anything of the pathos is absolutely complementing the kind of feel that you get in this particular composition. Again, we also see how the ragam is something very, very interesting. It can be a tiny thing for you like a drop of water. It can become mighty like an ocean. So that's why we always say, great artists are all here. They will definitely agree that it's a lifelong pursuit even to attain perfection a particular ragam. And as I always say, no composer can say that, yes, through this composition I've exhausted all the possibilities of the ragam. Or no musician can ever say, today I sang Todi to the best and I've completed everything that is possible in Todi. This can never happen because of the fact that every time we are only picking up few drops from that mighty ocean. And here, but also the fact that it can be a microscopic drop. And this I would like to take an example or a leaf out of Tyagarajar, where he sings, Nagumo Mugalavani Namano Garuni Jagamedu Shuruni Janaki Varuni Rima Pamari Marisa Sarisa Nisari. So where you see that within a particular range, he doesn't go up, he doesn't go down. Rima pa, rima, rima pa, mani pa, mari, marisa, nisa, rima, ma, rima pa, mari, marisa. So the whole definition of Madhyamati is contained here. But the same composer looks at the same raga in such a vast and expansive way that we are just awed. Like for example, Rama Katha Sudhara Makatha Sudhara Makatha Sudhara Rasapayana Moka. In the Anupallavi, where he starts Sani Pa. Like this, you can also see parallel in all the great composers, Dikshadhar or Palin Sukamakshi of Shyama Sastri. But here, how he traverses the whole ragam, and in the Anupallavi, you see like Bhama Mani Janaki. The last Sangati goes till the Ma. So Mitri. So the entire range, pa, ni, sa, re, ma, pa, ni, sa, re, ma. Like this, you can see how the composer, great composers have that ability to use the ragam as a beautiful language, where you could say that writing an essay in 2 lines or sentences, writing a big essay containing so much material. So that way, or you could say that taking one simple dish like an upma or a sadhi sapad like a kalyana sapad, whatever way you look at it. So that way we see that picture they're able to give. Or for example, another example you could take of Sahana, again where he defines, again what is important is that in the definition of the ragam, the essentials are always kept in mind. So when you, whether it is small or big, the basic essentials or the basic phrases, the key phrases which are essential to the ragam are kept intact and given on the face to us. Shri Rama, Shri Rama, Shri Manogarama, Shri Rama, Shri Rama, Shri Manogarama. To the expansive Giri Pai. So like this, when we study the compositions of all these greats, we see that how they are able to give us different dimensions of the ragam and make the ragam itself speak to us, communicate to us in so many dimensions. Here, of course, I would like to add that element of Sangati that Tyagarajar gave to the composition to give that bhava of the Sahitya an enhanced effect, I would say. And again, that is with the mood of the ragam. For example, if you take a composition like Teliyaleru Rama Bhakti Margamu, where he is really in agony at the way the people around, they don't know the Bhakti Marga, and he's agonized about that, and he says that everybody is about outward Bhakti and they do not know what the inner Bhakti means. So how see the words and the Sahityam, that is, and the melody complement each other here. Teliyaleru Rama Bhakti Margamo, Teliyaleru Rama Bhakti Margamo, no Teliyaleru Rama Bhakti Margamo, no Teliyaleru Rama Bhakti Margamo, no Teliyaleru Rama. Or I could give you another classic example where, of course, again, this is all our own imagination. I can definitely not certify that this is how Tyagaraja thought, but then we can get into his musical process and see what probably he would have conceptualized. In Eta Unara, the way the Sangatis are, to me personally, where you see that Eta Unara Nilakadaniku, he's asking, where is your abode? And it is just a stretch of imagination maybe on my part, but the Sangatis are such that if you observe, it starts on the Shadja and then step by step it progresses, and in the Anupallavi and Charanam you would have seen he is giving different places and asking, are you here or are you there or where are you? And the question comes back to a full circle of Eta Unara. So finally you see that where it started, it comes back. Like it's a basic concept of how we all start from home and go to different places throughout the day. You may go to office, you may go to college, you may go to your friend's place, but finally you come back to your home. So like for him also, I felt that the Sangati development here has got so much to convey in terms of a meaning of how the Sahitya again and the Sangeeta are complementing each other so seamlessly. We'll just look into the Sangati. Sangati should be sung twice, but due to shortage of time, I'm just rushing through it. The Shadja is established very well here now first. Nilakadani ko Nilakadani ko Nilakadani ko Nilakadani ko Now coming to another aspect where I would say that the same Raga, we are talking about the Raga Bhava here. So the Raga Bhava gets again communicated in different ways in different Sahityam. One example we'll take here. Shira Sagar Shayi Nil Tirubadi Bhajana Me Jivararam Shira Sagar Shayi Me Nakshi நடமாடுவார்தில்லை அம்பலம் தனில் அடிபணிபவர் கபஜயமில்லையானந்த நடமாடுவார்தில்லை மரச்சிதேவே மோனன்னோ மரவகு மரச்சிதேவே மோனன்னோ மரவகு பரம புருஷ வாசுதேவ பரலோக சாதன மே மன பரலோக சாதன மே மனச பரலோக சாதன மே மனச தில்லை சிதம்பரம் என்றே நீங்கள் ஒரு தரம் சொன்னார் பரகதி உள்ளுள்ளே தில்லை சிதம்பரம் where it was the same Purvi Kalyani all through, but you would have seen that because of the first thing, of course, the difference in the theme or the sahitya, it connotes different kind of meaning for us. Second, of course, is the Tala aspect, then the Kala Pramana. So there are so many things actually which determine also the Bhava aspect of a particular composition. I'd just like to share something about all the compositional forms as a wind-off. If we look at our own Carnatic music system, we see that it is one of the best and unparalleled in terms of, we could say that the vast number of compositions that have been given to us. We have the Varnam, the Padavarnam, the Thana Varnam. We have the Swarajati, Jati Swaram, Geetam, Kriti, Kirtana, the Ashtapadi, Tarangam, Devarnama, then the Tevaram, Tirupugal, Tillana, and we could keep going on, the Kavadi Chinda. And again, it's very interesting how our system, I would say, is rather a very open system in the sense of absorbing the best elements from different genres as well, where of late you would have seen the latest trend of the bhajans, sabang being absorbed into our music. We also see regional language songs getting absorbed into our music. We see the Kavadich and the other folk melodies getting introduced into our music. The devotional elements like Tevaram, Tirupugal, that also coming into our music. But what is beautiful about the system is that everything gets absorbed so beautifully into it and it becomes one seamlessly, one whole system where you don't identify each as a form different from the other, but in a concert presentation we see that they all get together and become one family. They are all different members coming from different places, but then they become one family finally. That's how the concert effect is here. And here, the Varnam, again, from the point of Sahityam, Ragam and Talam, these are again the three only elements which combine, or rather we could say permutation, combination in different ways, which gives different forms. So when we take the Varnam, it is nothing but where the Sahityam actually becomes a mere tool, I would say, to convey the Raga Bhava, to convey the essentials of the Ragam. We see that in Varnam, especially in the older time. Now, of course, the Varnam has taken a slightly different turn, where the Layakari, lot of Laya Vishayam also, like for example, if you take the Varnams of Lalgudi Jayaraman and T.R.S. Sir and other composers, you would see a lot of rhythmic intricacies also interwoven along with the Raga Bhava. But let us take a traditional Varnam like a Saveri Varnam, where you would see that Sarasuda Ninne Kori, that is only where the vowel extensions, the A, E, A, U, all this which are used in the words are mere vehicles, I would say, in terms of conveying the Raga Bhava and giving us the beauty. For example, of course, all of us know that Varnam too well, but just in this context, சரசூடைய நீனே போரி சல மாருலோ where you see that the idea is to give a manifestation of Saveri through the medium of these words. And of course then the swarams which come again become a language in itself in terms of conveying Saveri to us, like Sari Gari Sari Sagari Sani Da Pada Re Sagari Gasari Sari Mappa. I'm not going into the composition, but just like to share that I wanted to share that varnam, but due to lack of time, I'm not doing it. For example, if I take a varnam of Lalgudi, Jayaraman, the Varamu varnam, where you'd see so many combinations, 3 plus 5, 5 plus 3, all kinds of combinations coming in. So where you see that apart from the aspect of the functions of the Sahityam being a mere tool, even the starting itself, where you see that he has given a clear-cut idea of the Sahityam, like one line we can share. Nambum anbar karulum ilnaldaye nenjam amar umaye niye tunean. Where in the Charanam you'd see Tamadam yenam mahadayai seydida. One swaram. Dani mani da bagasaga dasani gasani mani dasani gani gasani da batamadam yenam. So these kind of very beautiful permutation combination of the ragam, where these permutation combination have a special communication, I would say, because Sagamadani-sa is after all a scalar ragam, but then how you can combine permutation combination of the swaras, jumping notes, then the rhythmic play, all this make for this varnam to become, or rather look very grand for us. Again, of course, here another aspect I would like to touch, again in the terms of the balance of the Sahityam, Ragam and Talam, is the Kriti and the Kirtana. Of course, there is always a dispute about what is a Kriti or what is a Kirtana. To my understanding, I would say that a Kirtana is a much simpler form where the melody is kept simple and the Sahitya Bhava is important. And a Kriti is something where the music also takes an important role, and you see that the music also becomes a language in itself in terms of the communication. For this, of course, you could go back to the same example of Nagumomo, which I sang, and the same Ramakatha Sudha, where I would say that the first one is more in the Kirtana format, where the lyrics are the more important, the tune is simple, tune is repetitive, and these are all the characteristics, whereas in a Kirtana you would see that the Raga itself attains a greater dimension at different hues and colors. Of course, in Sangeeta Sampradaya Prashni, nobody has defined something as a different Kirtana and Kriti. Everything is called a Kirtana. So there, this discrimination of a Kriti and a Kirtana again is just a very minimal, but from theoretical aspects of what Professor Sambamurthy has to say, from that probably we could devise this particular way of looking at it. Coming to the other aspects, just one or two, for example, the Tirupugal which has come into our system, where the language itself becomes the rhythm. So that is the beauty of the Tirupugal, where the language takes the role of the rhythm also, and the framing of the Sahityam is such that it is in tune with the rhythm. Of course, all of us well know that it is based on the Chanda Talam. Just one example to show you. Niramaya Puratana Para Paravaramrita Nidakula Chirariga Prabhayagi Nirasha Shivarajagal Parajagal Paravia Nirayuda Purariya Judan Veda Tana 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 Tana. This is the Chandam. Or another composition of Tirupugal, if you take Hore Podudu Miri Charana Neshate Vai Tunarene Tana 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 we also have the beautiful form of the Tillana, which is again coming together of a Sahitya of a different kind. The Jatis and the Sollus also coming in as an important factor in defining the form itself, where you have the Jatis and Sollus, then also the Swaram, then also the Sahityam coming in. So 3 factors coming in here. Just one example of a Pallavi and a Charanams to see how they combine in different ways. Tananadiradim tadirana, tananadiradim tadirana, dirana dirana, taranadiradim tadirana, dirana dirana, tagadim tajanudim tatagadim tadirana, tananadirana dim tadirana. Madiruvarudan mayil varamuma kumarata madama, Madiruvarudan mayil varamuma kumarata madama, taguma madavar paniyu malmarga kodi maranu samana maguma tam tam takatakita sanidama tom tom samagama pasanida pamata kujam takatadidam I'm cutting it short for want of time. So what I wanted to convey is here that, thank you madam. It's the perfect combination of Jatis, the Sahityam and the Raga Bhava. And in the domain of Manodharma, of course, as I mentioned, the Ragam is totally abstract, where the words Tadarina by themselves convey so much to us. And in Kalpanaswaram, of course, the Swara element is very, very important. In conclusion, thank you, sir. Of course, I had prepared a lot of material, going more deeper into the subject, but I'm just at the peripheral level due to a time constraint, and sorry about it. And there are other programs to follow also, and I have another commitment. So I'd just like to conclude here. I know that I've not even touched the tip of the iceberg. Usually I say I touch the tip of the iceberg because there's so much to convey, but nevertheless, this is a very deep subject, a very vast subject. But finally, what I would like to share is that whether it's a composer or the musician, the aspects or the 3 ingredients of Raga, Bhava and Tala, they come together in different ways, in different hues, different dimensions. So that is why we see that in every composition, for example, or Varnam Nirthandale, பல வர்ணம் கம்போசர்ஸ் பண்ணுறது அது பலவிதமாக நம்மளாளுக்கு அது பரிமளிக்கிறது. ஒரு தில்லானா எடுத்துனா ஒரு கம்போசர் தன்னோட ஸ்டாம்ப் அதில் பதிக்கிறா தன்னோட தாட் ப்ராசஸால். கிருதி கீர்த்தனா அஃப்கோர்ஸ் தேர் ஆர் thousands and thousands ஆஃப் கீர்த்தனா. அதில் பார்த்தேன்னா டிஃப்ரெண்ட் காட்ஸ் மேலே பண்ணுறது ஒரு விதம். அந்த காட் மேலே தன்னோட பாவா, லைக் தியாகராஜர் பார்த்தேன்னா இட் வாஸ் அ பர்சனல் கம்யூனிகேஷன். If you look at Dikshidhar, it's a very impersonal kind of statement and glorification of the God. In case of Shama Sastri, it's a different, where it's a mother-child kind of a relation. So, ஒரு கம்போசரும் தன்னோட பாவம், மனபாவத்தை தன்னோட தாட் ப்ராசஸ் அந்த காம்போசிஷனில் வெளிப்படுத்துகிற போது அது டிஃப்ரெண்ட்டாக பரிமளிக்கிறது. அஃப்கோர்ஸ் ராகம், அகைன் ராகம் எடுத்துட்டோன்னா இன்றைக்கி நம்மளுக்கு எல்லாருக்கும் தெரியும். தோடின்னு எடுத்துட்டோன்னா தியாகராஜரே 25-30 காம்போசிஷன் பண்ணியிருக்கார். கரப்பிரியான்னு பார்த்தா பாபநாசம் சிவன் கரப்பிரியாவில் பண்ணியிருக்கார். தீக்ஷிதர், இஃப் யூ டேக் தீக்ஷிதர் அகைன் சங்கராபரணம், கல்யாணி, all these ragams you see that every composer where the name has taken it, but then each one has given their own color and dimension. And of course, as far as the Tala, I have not done anything about the Tala today, but as far as the Tala is concerned, again, it is what which binds the Sahityam and the Ragam in different formats, in different ways. So that is why you also see how the Talam is not just about even Adi, Rupakam, Kanta Chapu or Mishra Chapu, the basic Talam. Talam is also about the Kala Pramanam. Talam is also about the different Oedipus. More than that, it's about the layam. That is a subject altogether by itself, where the inherent layam or the flow of the composition within the Tala parameter is again a big research study, where you see how ஒரு சம எடுப்பில் இருக்கிற பாட்டுக்கும் ஒரு அரை தள்ளி எடுக்கிறதுக்கும் ஒரு ஒன்றரை கீர்த்தனைக்கும் there is an ocean of difference in terms of its structure. அதே மாதிரி ஒரு ஃபார்ம் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஒரு வர்ணத்தோட தாளா ஸ்ட்ரக்சர், ஒரு தில்லானா தாளா ஸ்ட்ரக்சர், ஒரு கீர்த்தனை தாளா ஸ்ட்ரக்சர், ஒன்றுக்கு பார்த்தா இட்ஸ் அ டிஃப்ரெண்ட் திங். அண்ட் ஃபைனலி அஃப்கோர்ஸ் ஆல் ஆஃப் திஸ் வாட் த கம்போசர் இன்டென்ட்ஸ், it comes out beautifully only through the medium of the musician, and that is where the musician also plays a very important role in terms of combining these three aspects. அதுக்கு தான் நம்ம on a final note we say, இந்த பாட்டை இவர் பாடி கேட்கணும், இல்லை இந்த ராகத்தை இவர் வாசித்து கேட்கணும் அப்படின்னு சொல்கிறோம். அப்படின்னா that means they have mastered the art of or the craft of being excellent in that particular ragam or the composition. And finally, of course, on a last note, when we look at all the maestros in our music field, to quote a few, just ஒரு இன்ஸ்ட்ருமெண்டலிஸ்ட்னே சொல்ல போனால் லால்குடி சாரோ எம்எஸ்டி சாரோ அவளை எடுத்துட்டோன்னா அந்த ஒரு ஸ்டேட் ஆஃப் மியூசிக் வேர் த சாகித்யம், த ராகம், தாளம், பாவம், everything becomes immaterial to you. Everything becomes seamlessly one, and ultimately it is only the state of sheer bliss, ananda and bhakti that you are able to enjoy. So that is what probably every musician seeks. We start our musical journey by learning a composition, then we start looking into the sangatis, then we look into the musical element, then after a point of time, after 30-40 years of age, you start looking at the artha bhava also and see what the composition has to convey. Then when you are 50-60, you start looking at the inner philosophy of the compositions. Then we become 70-80, you start comparing these compositions one after the other and see how each composer has adopted his thought process. So this is an absolutely lifelong journey for any musician also in terms of understanding the concept of raga, bhava and tala. Once again, I would like to thank Shashikiranji for this wonderful opportunity. I head a school in Vani Mahal and my program is at 2 o'clock and my students are waiting there for me, so kindly pardon me for cutting short my program. I would like to sincerely thank Dr. Badri Narayanan here, whom I couldn't give much opportunity because of time constraint, and Sri Mudhra Bhaskar also. But thank you nevertheless for your wonderful support and understanding my situation and lending all your cooperation. Thank you again. Thanks to the Paddhathi festival for giving us this wonderful opportunity. Namaskar.